Council Sunny. We have 4 members present. We do have a quorum.
Let's stand and salute the flag, please. Before we start the meeting, it would be okay if, I'd like to have a statement I'd like to read, please. Is it okay with the members? I have a statement. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, thank you. First, we'd like to congratulate the Gaming Commission, Mr. Nguyen, the Mayor, Carol DeMaria, and special thanks to the people of Everett for the great support in bringing a resort casino to the city of Everett. One more hurdle is needed, a no vote on question number 3, November 4th, to keep gaming in the state of Massachusetts. We hope that when passed, that Mr. Nguyen will keep all his written promises and keep the pride in Everett and respect all the people's concerns, and do not want to use his power to control this great city of Everett. Also, we feel that the closing of Suffolk Downs and the losing over 1,000 jobs is not the right thing to do. They need someone to make a stretch-winning drive to save good old Suffolk Downs from the wrecking ball. Please save Suffolk Downs in the racing industry, which has been there almost close to 80 years. Thank you very much. Clerk will read number 1.
All right, the first piece of business is order by Council Michael Marchese as president that the City Council and the Mayor's office work to develop a snow shoveling ordinance.
I would
Can we invite the sponsor up?
invite Michael, city solicitor and the chief of staff.
Oh, okay. We'll invite the city solicitor up then.
Good evening, Melissa Murphy, Mayor DeMaria's Chief of Staff.
Dave Rodriguez, Assistant City Solicitor.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I've been reading some things about this, and it's true that the ADA said that this was a, what did they say? We shouldn't pass it because it would be discriminatory?
I think you're thinking of item 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at my, I'm sorry, that's one I was looking at. I'm sorry. I'll get you on the next time.
We'll get you on the next go-around.
Councilor Sani?
Thank you. I know we went over this several times, many years, and my concern was about the properties owners shoveling it, and if something happened, they get sued because they touched the snow, the sidewalk. So, and I was concerned about putting it in here. Did we do anything with that, or no, or what's your opinion on that?
So just so I can reiterate your concern that if there's an ordinance requiring a property owner to shovel the sidewalk in front of their house, they somehow assume the liability for anything that happens on that sidewalk because of the disturbance of the, so that's not true. It's not going to be actionable against, and it's certainly nothing that I say now can be construed as legal advice to any homeowner, but under appropriate legal principles, there, in a hypothetical, there would be no liability for the homeowner in that regard.
And we talk about waivers for seniors that are qualified and guidelines for them, a certain salary range and all that too?
So last time, the board asked us to change the leave lanes a little bit. So we have waivers available for people who are over 65 and whose annual income exceeds 133% of the poverty level. We have waivers for people who demonstrate any physical disability and financial hardship. And anybody, this was from last time, so this red language is the language that was asked to be added after the last committee meeting. So we added language that a waiver shall be awarded to everyone who qualifies for the elderly exemption. And in addition, anyone deemed physically handicapped by their doctor. So that was the language that this committee asked us to add after the last meeting.
So if someone does have a waiver and they're not capable, is the city gonna be shoveling the area, and who pays the cost? Is that the,
It's something we'll have to talk about. I mean, right now, we have a list of students who want to do community service. I think we could use them for this. Principal Easy has been talking to us about students who basically can't maybe afford their student ID or other things, and they're looking for a way to kind of work towards that, and that may be something that we can explore with them. But the major thing that I think we're trying to get through with this waiver is that they won't be fined. They won't have tickets on their property because they can't shovel, and they'll be documented. So the way I envision it is that the city services director will have a list in code enforcement. We'll have not just a list, but probably a map that we'll create in our GIS system showing exactly what properties we should avoid when we're doing our ticketing.
okay, and one other question. In the past, I know we said that the city said that they could not be able to clean up the areas that the city property owns. Will they be able to do it
We'll
in
have
10
to.
hours?
Yes, we'll have to. The ordinance requires everybody, including the city, to clean up, and we're all aware of that. If we had an epic snowfall, there is under D, it does allow the director to extend the time limit. So sometimes we all know that you know, when you get hit with 2 feet of snow, expect people to get out and getting it all cleared, you know, in 10 hours may not be possible. So it does allow for that as well. And what we would do is, if we did have that, we would treat it a lot like how we treat the overflow trash. We do a robocall saying that the city services director has determined that this is an unorthodox moment.
Thank you.
Councilor Napolitano.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad to see the waiver in here, and, but I do have one other question. Again, granted, I realize we can't break this down to the minutia, but there are residents, elderly residents who have trusts. They would not, if my understanding is, they wouldn't qualify for the exemption of the property taxes because they're a trust. Do we have, and we're using that criteria for qualification for exemption of this ordinance. So what I'm curious if we can put something in to address seniors who would be in the same physical condition, and the difference is, you know, because they don't, you know, that they would qualify by some similar criteria.
I think, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that we have language at the top, which is the old language, says, waiver shall not be granted to any shall be granted. Basically, it wants the people to be, this is a little confusing the way it's written, but they want them to be 65 and income exceeding 133%. I think we could have both. So we could have people who qualify for the elderly exemption, and some people who have trust do qualify. It depends on the kind of trust you have and who the beneficiaries are. And people should, if they think they're not getting it at home, they should check on that, because we have found people who should be getting it. But I think maybe we could have both language. So we could have language that says both the 65 and the 133%, as well as the elderly exemption, so that we cover both.
Yeah, from a technical standpoint, we can probably just break it down a little bit and make it, and just, instead of being in a paragraph, we can make it bullet points, so that they'd be looked more as ors and not and, so it's not, you don't have to achieve all these things, but it could be one of the things that are on this list. And so we can just include some trust language in there.
Oh, that's fine, because we're using one gauge, another one is to use as for qualification purposes in this one. But this really doesn't have anything to do whether they're on trust or taxpayers are paying it directly in their own name. It's got to do with cleaning the property, you know, getting the snow picked up. All right, Dave, if we could just, you know, just expand that a little bit.
It's easy.
Okay.
Councilor Hannon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based right where Peter was, I'm seeing this was annual income exceeds 133% of the federal poverty level. And that the way that you're going to find this out is by inspection of the previous year's federal tax filing. My question is, can you look at that? Do you have a right to look at someone's tax return?
We don't have a right to demand to look at it, but if somebody's applying for an exemption that they have to prove their poverty level, they have to provide some evidence that they are at that level. That's the easiest way for us to determine that.
Would you be looking for the one page that says they are, or would you be looking for the whole tax report? Just the one page of it?
Well, we'd have to determine, well, the federal property tax level goes up and down year to year. So so for this year, I think for a family of one, it was
Right, but there's only one
21,000.
page that
So,
says that.
yeah,
That's
so
on there. You
so
only
if we
want one
looked,
page. You don't have to look at the 20
yeah, if we're looking for their gross income, yeah. We don't need to look at all their exemptions and all their filings and all their, yeah, we just need their their declaration sheet.
And at this, on the same thing, we don't need someone, if someone's bringing in a letter saying that they're handicapped, we don't need to know the handicap. Just needs to say that they're deemed handicapped. So,
Do you have
privacy.
any more questions for the city solicitor and the chief of staff?
I still have a question for them. Let it go.
Mr. Council
Can I
here.
ask, what do you do if someone doesn't meet the criteria and yet they can't get out and shovel their side, for the waiver, and they still can't get out and shovel their sidewalk, they're gonna be fined?
So if someone's not handicapped or doesn't meet the 133% and the age, I mean, I think we would take it on a case-by-case basis. So if we had someone come to City Hall and they had a broken leg, right? So at this time, they're obviously unable to shovel, we would take that on a case-by-case basis. If somebody has a broken arm, they just broke their arm, and they come with the cast, and they're like, I can't shovel, what am I gonna do? I think we would take it on a
So who
case-by-case.
takes care of the sidewalk?
So, I think this comes back, I think, a little bit to the conversation we had with Cynthia, Council signing earlier. I think what we would do is we try to get this high school list together, and then we'd have to try to get to those last. Once we finish all the city sidewalks, make sure everything was safe, then we could start trying to get to these people's sidewalks. We probably wouldn't be done with these individual sidewalks in 10 hours. I can't say we'd do that, but we would.
I'm kind of concerned, just a little bit, of the people that have nowhere to go, and the only thing that they can do is to get someone else to shovel the sidewalk, and they have to pay them. I don't know what, my sidewalk would probably cost $20 or something like that, but I can do my own shoveling anyway. I'm saying something like that, so what we're telling people to do is that they have to pay to do their sidewalk.
People who can afford to pay, yeah, so people who make more than the 133% of the,
I see that, yeah.
and we could change that amount. I mean, that's not an amount that we have to set in stone. We could certainly, this is obviously amenable, but, I think the thought is that if you have a certain income, you own a property, then we're thinking that you'll be able to pay for it at that point. And you have 10 hours, so it's, it's not like we're saying you have an hour, get your property clean fast. You have 10 hours, and it gives you a little bit of leeway. From when the snow stops, not from when it stops.
Council signing?
Thank you. You know how we get donations from different businesses that we put for the summer programs? Is this something we can put together for the winter program, so we have kids that can be paid shoveling? So some of these people that cannot afford, or not even just can afford, someone that's 65, 70, I mean, that's kind of, at an age that sometimes you can't. They're not disabled, but they cannot do certain limits. Is that something we can look into and have some funds there?
We can have Bob Dion look into that. We got a grant this year for most of the summer kids, and I think most of that money's been expended, but there may be further grants that we can look into.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for the city solicitor or chief of staff?
No.
Council McGuire.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, for being late, but I'm just trying to get up to speed on what you're trying to do here, because I've been against this for quite a while. I just don't see how we can do it, fine people for a sidewalk that the city owns. Melissa, just to clarify that, if the snow's not removed within 10 hours, we have the right to fine them? Is that what we're looking to do?
Sure, yes, and so this is based a lot on ordinances that exist in Boston, Somerville, Lynn, Chelsea, and basically what we're saying is that you have responsibility for the sidewalk in front of your home, unless you qualify for a waiver, which there's many people who will qualify based on the number of people who get out of the exemption. You would have to clear your sidewalk in front of your property for 36 inches in width within 10 hours. Or be subject to fines, and the fine structure is 1-8, and it's based on the conversation that we all had last time, which is that you would like the fine structure to restart with the lowest fine for each snow event. So that's language that was taken away from the last meeting. And this came up because of the number of complaints that we got last season, which was that people were calling and saying, I'm trying to walk my kids to school and I can't. And we're walking in the street, and it's not safe, and really, what are you gonna do? And that's kind of where this came from.
Through the chair, if you may. I'm out in these snowstorms, with the city workers, and snow's being, people clean their sidewalk. What are you gonna do when the plow pushes snow back on their sidewalk, and then somebody comes by and says, you didn't clean your sidewalk? Is there gonna be, I think discretion has to be used. I mean,
I'm not convinced on this, I never was.
Yeah, I think all
I'll
of
be
our.
getting tickets, because my house is the last house to be cleaned, because we're out in the, most of the city workers, and, I think you can ask them, their houses are the last ones to be cleaned, because they're out doing it.
I think with every code enforcement issue, we have to use discretion.
Okay.
The good thing about the good thing, I say, when snow gets pushed on your sidewalk or driveways, we can always tell, because it's that
Okay.
hard, horrible
Yeah,
snow that
absolutely.
comes from a plow. And so that's certainly something that I wouldn't encourage city services, the code enforcement people to run out and ticket. We all know what happens when you get a plow go by and you get that hard snow at the edge of your driveway and those chunks. That's a different type of snow than a fresh snowfall. And so we would ask them to use their discretion on those, and they're very good about that.
And specifically, I know that when this has been proposed a number of times before, and specifically when this ordinance was drafted, it was designed to, and we've all seen them, the multifamily homes that are non-owner occupied, that have 3 feet of snow out in front, and each one of their neighbors is shoveled to both sides, and there's this island of 3 feet of snow in between from 3 different snowfalls. Those are the type of people that this was designed to get them to do. Because those people are able, they have the financial means, they have the physical means in order to go shovel. They just, for some reason or another, don't. So trying to have some level of completeness when it comes to shoveling, because by and large, the people who live in the city and who take care of their properties shovel. Especially the seniors in the neighborhood. I know that our neighbors in our neighborhood, they clean. There's not a snowflake on the sidewalk. And those are certainly not the people that the ordinance, when it was originally proposed and has been continued to be proposed, was designed to. It wasn't the problem that it was designed to solve. The problem it was designed to solve was the people who just don't care.
I don't have any further questions. Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Hanna, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one other area of concern. We have an existing ordinance, I think we still have it anyway. It says that you cannot take snow from your property and put it onto the street and sidewalk, because the sidewalk is considered part of the street, a highway, I guess, considered part of the highway. And we do not enforce that, at least I have never seen it being enforced,
We do
And-
enforce that now.
Okay,
yeah.
well, what my concern is that a landlord, someone that owns property, and they live in Everett or someplace else, but they go down to plow out their tenant's driveway, and that snow winds up across the street, not on this side, but across the street, and it may not block the street, but certainly blocks the sidewalk. You can't get through around with that, so I'm wondering if we're going to be, putting an effort into, doing this ordinance, are we going to be keeping that same effort going into the other snow removal?
Yeah, all of our code enforcement people are now on during snow events. It's the reason why we got the four-wheel drive vehicles when we did the capital improvement plan this time, instead of the vehicles we had before, because they all work now for snow events. I know the last few snow events, we've had a number of tickets, because I've seen them come through the appeals process. So they are definitely out there. One of them, Inspector Finocchio, saw somebody, I happened to be driving down Broadway, saw somebody taking the snow off their roof, shoveling it into the street, and was already knocking on their door before I had even driven by. So they take that very seriously.
And again, with the population density and the home density in the city, we're in the top. We're probably about the 93rd, 94th most densely populated city in the country. More if you take away our industrial centers and you just focus on the residential areas. So it presents a number of unique challenges, as we've all had going out to shovel. Where do you put it? And it speaks to the level of discretion that Melissa described earlier about, where you're going to put it. Sometimes it has to go in the street. You have to push it in the street and then you scoop it out later. I know I've done that, just because so you have a place to put it, and it becomes very, very challenging. But the code enforcement guys are very, very diligent, but they're also very understanding of circumstances on the ground.
There's a time limit on that ordinance too. I don't know what it is, like 2 or 3 hours, you got to take that and remove that back. If you put it on the street, you can move it back, but I never see it getting taken off the street. Okay, but that'll be enough of that. Thank you.
I certainly do, Counselor.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions?
Move there be excused for customary thanks.
Yes. Excuse for your customary thanks. Thank you for appearing.
Thank you.
Who's the sponsor of this? Is there no sponsor? On this one here? Oh, by the president. Okay.
What is your pleasure, ladies and gentlemen?
I'd like to, with the amendments we requested, refer it back out to the council with the amendments with favorable recommendation.
No second.
Motion is, the motion seconded?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we refer it out with no recommendation to the city council.
I'll second that motion.
Then they can do whatever they want to do.
Okay, the motion is refer back with no recommendation to the city council. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
All right. Item number 2 is a resolution of by Council Leo McKinnon and Mike Marquez that the Committee on Legislative Affairs establish an ordinance that all wheelchairs and electric scooters have a 3-foot flag.
Okay, would we like to invite the chief of staff again and the city solicitor, please?
Please invite.
Well, could we invite the makers of the ordinance?
And the sponsor?
Mr. Chairman?
Is
Could
that-
we invite the makers of the ordinance?
Sure.
If anyone is there that sponsor these ordinances, if they want to come forward, they should be able to come forward.
Sure.
So,
Anybody like to come forward?
yeah, you did this one, Mike?
About 8
Okay.
years ago, but
Okay.
Leo brought it back up, so.
Please present your name and your title.
Mike Marchese, Council, Ward 3.
Thank you.
This piece was up before us previous. It was sent to the Disability Commission, and I believe they, at the time, liked the idea of doing it. And what this actually does is, a lot of times crossing the street, when someone's in a chair, one of those scooters, which is a lot of scooters, and there's a lot of chairs around the city now, you can't see them coming out, so it calls this, so you can put a 3-foot flag on somehow, so that, you know, if it comes out to an intersection, and it may be a car parked 6 feet back, at least you can see something coming out of that car, and that's all it was intended to be. And I don't know, you know, who would bear the expenses to it, you know, I don't know who would attach them, because it wouldn't be that hard. That's some of the things that, you know, the issues, I think, holding it back up, who would purchase it and who would attach them. You know, I mean, would the fire department do it, would the police department do it one day a month or one day a week? That's the issue I believe we had.
Councilor Sani.
We have a notice here that we cannot pass anything, that this is a disability rights law, and that it would be discriminatory, so
So we could refer it to them.
no, it says that we, at the Massachusetts Office of Disability, has informed this office that this proposed ordinance would be discriminatory and in violation of disability right laws. So I believe at this time, we would not be able to do anything. And we can even ask the mayor's chief of staff or the assistant solicitor for their opinion, and
If the Disability Commission, the state says they don't want to protect people coming to an intersection, they're right to do it.
okay.
Motion to refer item 2 back to sponsor.
Excuse us one.
Thanks.
President, we may just want to ask if the legal department would like to say anything. We don't know anything about those favors, but we want to come anyway. Okay, so,
Refer back to sponsors.
Motion is to refer back to sponsor. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item number 3. This is ordinance up by Council Fred Capone to amend the animal control ordinance in the city.
We'd like to invite.
Make a motion to invite the sponsor?
Second.
Councilor, state your name and your title, please.
Good evening, councilors. Fred Capone, Councilman Ward 1, sponsor of this piece. This is one of those pieces, if you recall from our general meeting we just had, that needs to be worked on just to come in compliance with the state, address areas that we really don't have. I believe the city solicitor has recommended that this particular ordinance probably should go to the Director of Health and Board of Health members for their input and review. I know that one of the items that's in here talks about chicken. And right now, I guess you can have 6 chickens, as long as you have everything set up the way it's supposed to be. I do know that there's a group, Everett Community Growers, that's interested in trying to look into that section a little bit more. So it's probably something that needs to be worked a bit more, and the recommendation from the city solicitors to refer it to the Board of Health and their members. That's probably the right thing to do. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but it's pretty in-depth, and it's just lining up with the state.
Councilor Hannah.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, I didn't raise my hand. Counselor, is this put in here now for the thing you said about chickens?
Well, the chickens happens to be one portion of it. It's dogs, kennels. It's pretty inclusive.
I know,
So,
but I mean-
but the section that's in there that deals with fowl is a little foreign to us, so.
Yeah.
It's something that has to be looked at a little bit more in depth.
Okay. And what is new in this from what we have before, other than the chickens?
I think that it tightens up some of the regulations. The fines are getting a little bit steeper. Many of these things deal with dogs. You'll recall that some of our meetings, we've had people come up and their concerns because there's dogs that aren't on leashes. They get nervous if they're jumping on them. The great majority of people that own dogs and animals in our community are very responsible. I myself am a dog owner. I like to think I'm responsible. But some of the things that we're looking to address in here are those folks that aren't cleaning up after their dogs, those folks that are leaving their dogs off leash and letting them run around parkland, out in the sidewalk, out in front of their house, outside of their property. So there's quite a few things in there to look at, just to tighten it up and line it up with the state.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions?
Any questions? No
Okay.
more questions?
Thank you very much.
Make a motion to refer to Board of Health?
Before it goes, I have several questions I need to ask on this. On page 2, these are things that really bother me on these kinds of things that we put in. And it says that we shall accept this chapter of Massachusetts now, and then of anything else that they might put in the future. And that kind of stuff really, really bothers me, because, Massachusetts may say you can't have any animals at all in the city, and we'd have to say okay on that. Not that they would, but that's the thing that bothers me. We have, and I said that on something else that we have, that we're dealing with, where it says we have to take that law, and whatever changes that they make to that law is part of our law without us even acting on it. And that kind of bothers me, so, but we're going to just refer this to the Board of Health now, because I have lots of questions, as you can see, but when it comes back, it'll come back to this committee and not to the board. So,
Okay.
second the motion for referring to the Board of Health.
The motion is referred to the Board of Health. City Solicitor also, or just the Board of Health? Just the Board of Health. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
All right, item number 4. This is an ordinance offered by Council Michael K. Marchese as president to establish a code of ethics.
Would I invite the sponsor up,
We'd like
please?
to invite the sponsor, please? Can we invite the mayor's chief of staff and assistant city solicitor also?
Mike Marchese, Council Ward 3. This is required by our charter. This was something we initiated last May, and I believe it's something we have to accept according to the charter.
We do have to accept an ordinance pertaining to ethics pursuant to the charter. After a careful review, I think this deserves a careful vetting, both in this committee and by the Solicitor's Office and by the rest of the administration, just so we can, I have a number of concerns just from my review, my cursory review of the proposed ordinance. I have a number of concerns based upon mostly implementation and enforceability, and how it's going to intersect with the existing state ethics law, which is, in Massachusetts, very robust. So ramping it up even further would raise a number of enforceability and legal issues that I don't think that the city is prepared to absorb or address. So I think this needs to be something that's carefully vetted by the committee. So if you're looking for a recommendation this evening, I would recommend that this remain in committee for a number of weeks, so we have an opportunity to really fully vet this appropriately.
Councilman Hannan, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask for that same thing, but it's a 5-page document, And it's a lot of information in here, and unfortunately, I've only skimmed it, and I haven't really gone into it like I would like to. So the same reason I would want it to stay in the committee so that we can really, really look at it. I'm not making that motion yet, but that's one of my things, because it's just a lot of information in here. And I do believe that we need a code of ethics. I mean, I'm not trying to duck this issue, you know?
Well, just to be clear, all city employees, right, all municipal employees, whether they're compensated, uncompensated, volunteer, appointed, or elected, are subject to a code of ethics already.
Right.
A very robust code of ethics under Chapter 268A that's enforced by the State Ethics Commission. So we're subject to those now.
Right.
What this does is it codifies it at the city level, and it also ramps up a number of things that would be difficult to enforce,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
No, I know they're very hard, and I know that our charter says that we have to do one, but I just took that test the other night on that we're all supposed to be taking, you know, it's passed it, you know. So it does include a lot of things. A lot of things are so catchy, you know, I mean, they're so, what you can and what you can't do, so that,
And what I'll say to the council and to all the committee members and their colleagues on the council is that the solicitor's office is always available to consult on these issues. And if you ever have, or so is the State Ethics Commission, they have a legal division that's specifically designed to answer legal questions and address questions that come up before the action happens. I would advise any municipal employee to call before any potential conflict exists. Otherwise, you would be self-reporting, and then, you know, other potential issues would arise.
it's amazing so much of it that you can't do, but if you ask them to, if you want to do it, just, you know, tell your reporting authority.
Tell your
and
reporting
They
authority.
say, yeah, you can do it.
File a number of disclosures.
Yeah,
The
you know.
disclosures in the past few years have been revamped. They're all available online. You can fill them out online. It asks a lot of information, and they're all in every ethics disclosure. You individuals, elected officials, for the purposes of the ethics law, their appointing authority is the clerk, is the city clerk. For all executive employees, it would be the mayor, and for, you know, city council staff, it would be the president of the city council. They're always available too. So the purpose is to shed light on on any potential conflicts, either that may exist, or that the appearance of such a conflict may exist. And that's one of the things that makes the Massachusetts ethics laws very robust, is that it doesn't only address actual conflicts that exist, you know, dealing with a substantial financial interest in which you or a family member has something to do with, but also if a reasonable person could believe that that appearance might exist, is very robust when compared to other states.
Yeah. Do we, are we planning to do any training of all our city employees? Let me ask, when's the last time that was done?
All city employees are required to take the same test that you took. And that.
No, I meant having someone actually come here and speak to them.
Yeah, that part of that test includes a brief training.
Okay.
We can have a training at any time. We can either, Colleen or I could do that. We could have officials from the State Ethics
Yeah, I
Commission
know,
come in. We could have
someone
outside
from the
counsel
state
do
did
it.
come out one time, yeah.
There are, in the State Ethics Commission, they run normal regular seminars that you go and you can learn about these issues and
Right.
ask questions and dive in with experts. And it's very helpful. I've done it a number of times. I do it, you know, every couple of years just to stay fresh.
Thank you.
Councilor Sani, please.
Thank you. Can we just, in the charter, state the mass law and go with that?
The charter requires that we adopt an ordinance relative to ethics. You could just say that, you know, they would be required anyway, but just a restatement of the law wouldn't necessarily be, it would be redundant, but it wouldn't be contradictory in any way.
Councilor Napolitano, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, I mean, I agree with Councilman Conlon, that, you know, yourself, that more needs to be, to go into this. You know, and looking through it, you know, I mean, granted, it addresses all levels, but it doesn't address all levels. What I'm getting at is that, yes, if I'm in violation of a code of ethics, my colleague is going to call me out on it. We have a committee, so forth. At what point is the city unable to investigate itself?
And you hit the particular concern that I had right on the head, is that the implementation and enforceability at the State Ethics Commission, and I know because in an ethical full disclosure, I was a law clerk at the Ethics Commission while I was in law school, so I know it very, very well. the structure there they had, they're split up and they have firewalls between each division. So they have the investigatory division, which does all the investigation. It's essentially the police arm. It's a quasi-civil criminal investigatory administrative board. And then the legal division, which provides advice and, works in the law. My concern is if a city employee, and it's the same as yours, were to violate any part of this, would they be entitled to due process? Would they be entitled to a hearing? Would they be, who's doing the investigation? What is the penalty?
We need to spell that out there, don't
We need to, I don't know how we would do that. I don't know if there is a city agency. Colleen and I in the solicitor's office, we have the ability to do those sorts of investigations and make those sorts of decisions and that enforceability. But I don't know if we have the capacity, given the workload and some of the other things that we have to do. So I'm not sure the enforceability of the action as appropriate.
Judge and jury on these things.
That's the point.
Yeah,
Say it
doesn't it also potentially, and again, I'm not insinuating,
Conflict.
but it potentially sets up a conflict because, let's take it from the highest level. If there's an issue there, you're in a position of investigating your boss, more or less. Granted, you've got a fiduciary,
I have an obligation
You have an
under my,
obligation,
as an administrator of justice and officer of the court. I have to
and I
do those
understand
things.
that.
Yeah.
So.
But it's
I mean,
tough. You're
but
right.
I think because of, we're talking about not even the actual act, the perception of the act. We need to have even the process fall in that same criteria. We need to make sure that it's above reproach.
And that's specifically why when the State Ethics Commission was formed, and it's gone through a number of reforms over the years, most recently in 2010 when everything was kind of beefed up a little bit, why it exists and why it's, the members of the commission that exist are, they're partisan, they're balanced, bipartisan. They can only serve so long. They can only have so much term. Everything has a process and everything is organized very, very distinctly. The Attorney General's office can also play a role in that, as they often do. If something rises to the level of criminal activity, there's always the connection between, but neither entity can tell the other what to do. So it's the reason that the State Ethics Commission exists. To my knowledge, without one of the other issues, well, I guess it wouldn't necessarily be an issue, is the, that's a half-formed thought. I have to give it a little bit more, so.
I mean, what's our timetable on this? When, I understand what the charter states,
Mhm.
but when do we actually, I mean, this session, we go until the end of next year.
Mhm.
And this is technically this is a big issue.
This is a very big issue, and I don't want anybody to think that currently any city employee is operating without a code of ethics that apply to them. They certainly do. We're all held
But
to.
we're formalizing.
Well, we
Specifically.
formalize it at the city level. I mean,
Right.
a lot of these things that are included within the ordinance that was very carefully drafted and done very thoughtfully it already exists through Chapter 268A and through the applicable regulations that have been adopted at the state level. It's good at some point to have that kind of break, to have that firewall there. They're disinterested parties. And so it's hard sometimes, like you said, to investigate our own, and it may create an appearance.
So what type of timetable do we have? Do we have, does the charter require us within a certain set of months?
I got the,
Put something in place?
I got it right here. Let me just take a look real quick.
Do we have time to work on this?
We do.
May of next year,
Hey, last year?
this year.
It's fast?
We already
Well,
we already blew by it. It's pretty
I think-
good.
I think a big decision is to come up with a comparable group of people who are going to enforce these things. In case it does come up, you have you have a couple of people on the council, city workers. I mean, I know it's hard to find total people who are always going to be total, not prejudiced towards it. But there's someone that's going to have to make decisions somewhere if something does come up. Whether it's in the back room, whether it's out front, but eventually, someone's gonna have to do something. So, I mean, you do have to have an enforceable agency if you're gonna have a charter, if you're gonna have ethics.
Yeah. No, I agree
You know?
100%. It sounds to me like we more time to.
Yep, and I think it's like, we need a meeting on this thing, and everybody should be reading this and come in here with some ideas the next time we meet. Or maybe we just have one meeting just on this.
Okay. Second?
Which gentleman?
Yes, you.
All right, I said,
The gentleman I
Well,
was
there's only one of us up here, so.
Okay. Motion is to grant further time, or table, to grant further time, a table this into next meeting. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
Chairman, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
What did we vote on item number 2?
Number two, we had. Yes, number
Is that
two.
what the motion was? Okay, it's a bad motion.
Yes, we referred that back to sponsor.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move reconsideration on item number 2.
Motion is made
for the
to
purpose of being correct.
reconsideration, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, the proper thing should be referred back to the Common Council with a recommendation to refer to sponsor. We can't refer anything to sponsor. We have to refer it all back to the board because this belongs to the board. So the motion is to refer back to the board with a recommendation to refer to sponsor. I didn't mean to
Motion
say
is to
that, but I
refer
wanted
back
just
to Common Council with a recommendation of, refer it back to sponsor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read number, what we listen? Number 5?
Number 5, that's offered by Council Peter Napolitano to amend city council rules by adding note that committee and/or special meetings not be scheduled before 6 p.m. to ensure maximum participation of the city councilors. And be it further ordered that the city council committees and already special city council meetings not be scheduled at the same time.
Councilor Napolitano.
I mean, most of us have all come from the old bicameral system. There was enough city councilmen, aldermen spread out that you can get the job done on committees. The one thing I've been noticing this year with the smaller group, most of us are on multiple committees, and there was a few meetings that came up that were actually the back-to-back or meeting in the back, meeting out here simultaneously. In addition to that, we had a few special meetings that moved up prior to that. Some of us don't get out of work until 5, 5:30, 5:45. 6 o'clock meetings, I think, are a good cutoff. I don't believe we should meet before that. If you meet before that, you run the risk of now limiting the membership that could potentially attend here. When I first got on the council, we used to meet at 8 o'clock. We used to have committees meetings at 7. The decision was made to move it up to 7. That made sense. Having the regular meeting at 7, I think, still works for all of us. But the committees, the last thing you can, that I think we're ill-serving the residents if we're coming out of one job, rushing up here, coming up here, not even having an opportunity to collect our thoughts, and jumping right in and making a decision. It's not a huge time difference, but I think making sure that everything we do starts at 6 p.m. I think gives us a little better control, and at least an opportunity to be able to clear your head, come in and focus on whatever it is we're coming in to deal with. So that's kind of where I was coming from. I just want to make sure before more precedents occur where we're having back-to-back earlier meetings, we establish some criteria there. And I do hope you support it.
Councilor Hannan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Napolitano, I do support this to an extent, but not fully. As I'm reading this, it says that city council committee and/or special city council meetings not be scheduled at the same time. That's a different matter. But the 6 o'clock thing bothers me because sometimes we could meet on a Saturday at 9 a.m. or 2 p.m., something like that. If we're going to have a meeting that's not going to be on in these premises, which we can do, and we say that we wanted that at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 o'clock in the morning, this would restrict us from doing that. So I think we have to somehow say the committee and special meetings before the committee meetings, the actual, on Monday nights, those meetings, should not be done at that. And the other thing, too, that I need to say, because you mentioned it, is that we did get along real well when our meetings were at 8 o'clock. And I'd like us to think about moving our meetings back to 8 o'clock at night That way there, we could have meetings still at 6 PM and not have to rush them like we're doing, or else we're gonna wind up meeting here or meeting on every Monday night of the month or whatever. If that's what you want, that's okay, because I have the time. But I know most people work and they would like to have that second Monday off. So, but if we're gonna have to meet on the second Monday just to do committee meetings because we're meeting at 7 o'clock, I think I'm gonna somehow write a thing that we do go back to 8 o'clock at night. And that would give us the free second Monday all the time. So that's all I need to say about that, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor McGonigal.
Not too many of them, yeah. And I do agree with the council, but I haven't noticed too many meetings that that time.
The only reason, there's an additional piece that go ahead and make the meeting.
Yeah, I haven't noticed too many, but I do agree with the council. I mean, if the situation arises, we have to, clerk to do the same. Thank you.
Welcome. Councilor Napolitano.
Yeah, if I could, yeah, I mean, there's going to be, a situation arises that there isn't any other option, I'm not opposed to that. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't start a precedent. That's what my main concern was. You know, a few of the committee meetings early in the spring, you know, I was on both committees that were back-to-back. You know, which do you make a decision to attend, or do you hold up one committee until the other one finishes? Then there are members in the back that are not part of that first committee who are waiting. That actually happened. So I just wanted to get it down a little tighter. And as far as, and I'm primarily talking about weekdays. I mean, again, a necessity comes up where we might have a meeting on a Saturday. I believe we've seen that happen with budget hearings primarily. Again, that's not what I was thinking on this. I didn't actually write the order because I was told that you put the resolution forth, and then the city clerk will add the proper language and put it into our rules. So that's part of the reason why I didn't go into that much detail on it. But I believe you get the gist of what I'm looking to do here. Okay.
Councilor Sani.
I do agree with Councilor Napolitano regarding 6 o'clock is a good time, the start time, because we do get out of work between 5 and 5:30 in rushing with the traffic and everything, and rushing up here, and, you know, you don't even sometimes get into your home to freshen up, to come here. So I do agree with him, 6 o'clock is a good time, and also not to have two meetings in the same night is, because we came into another meeting, and I do agree that we couldn't even have a meeting. We came in, and then next minute was out on the council, and no one knew nothing. And it was very confusing, and it didn't look good for us. And I do agree with my colleague that we should not have too many committee meetings on the same night, that, you know, there is other days of the week that we can work with, by keeping things, you know, organized. Thank you.
What's your pleasure? Councilor? Table. What is?
Mr. Chairman, I can make a motion that we table it for further study.
Table it to next
We've got a
committee meeting?
motion for approval. Which of the motions on the floor?
My motion
There's
takes
one-
precedence, of course.
It's been seconded?
No second yet.
Second?
Thank you.
On the motion, on the second that he was talking about, why were we tabling it? Is it you asking for more time from the city
Yeah,
clerk,
we've
or?
got to rewrite it so
rewrite
that
it?
we can.
We're not
make it-
writing it, the city clerk is
So-
writing it.
Why don't we have?
He's writing it into our rules. I was told to submit it as a resolution.
Well,
and the
then we
clerk
shouldn't
would
make
do the
favorable
writing.
action. We should make a motion to refer it back to the board. I'm sorry for talking out of turn.
Referred with
Refer it back
favorable
to the
action,
board,
refer it
not
to
with
the city
favorable
clerk.
action, because it's not favorable. Refer it back to the council, to the city clerk to rewrite it.
I'll make a motion to refer to the city clerk with the,
I withdraw my motion, Mr. Chairman, because
Okay.
that takes precedence over all the others. I withdraw my motion. Go ahead.
I refer to the city clerk with the proper wording,
Refer it to the common council
refer to the common council with a
recommendation.
recommendation from the city clerk with the,
To send it to the city clerk.
to send it to the city clerk.
Perfect. You said that so good. Very good.
The motion is to refer to the city clerk for his, motion is to refer to the city clerk for his input. And what else was that?
All in favor?
Is that okay?
All in favor? Just wait.
Okay, his opinion, okay, refer to the city clerk for his opinion. To table it to our next meeting, the city city,
that's-
no?
To refer it.
Okay. Refer it to the city council to refer it to the city clerk. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it.
All right, item number 6. This is ordinance sought by Council Michael Marchese that the city government return 90% of all revenue derived from the wind project to the taxpayer base.
Invite the
Invite the sponsor
sponsor,
up.
please.
Yeah, invite the sponsor. Mr. Chairman? Yes. Please invite the sponsor.
You ready to vote it up?
They're invited.
Do that.
Hey, State,
Right,
state your name and title, please.
Mike, Casey Council, Ward 3.
Thank you.
I have a quick thing from Melissa Murphy and, from Mr. Viskey, who's here. And I'm going to read it to you quick, then I'm going to give a quick opinion on my own. The council's requested that the administration explain how the revenue got the gaming license and the host agreement we spent by the city. At this point, it's too early to give a detailed explanation as to how the money will flow in and out of the city's treasury. The administration has reached out to the Department of Revenue to begin discussions of the details of the host agreement and how it relates to the Mass General laws regarding municipal revenues. This meeting has not been coordinated, therefore I wouldn't feel comfortable discussing in any great detail as to how the money will be accounted. Hope for more details, and let me know if I can be of any further assistance. My issue on the whole thing is, congratulations to the mayor's department, group for pulling this over. You know, I mean, it's a great thing. It's gonna be a different world around here. It's one you may know if you like it yet. We'll find out. But in the meantime, as you saw last budget, we put a lot of people on, anticipating that we're gonna be needing these people when we do become a little more intricate city than what we are right now. And I know by reading the host agreement, there was certain taxes, which we know will go to our taxes, but there's also a lump sum of money on the TIF agreement that goes to a particular area. And I think as councilors here, we have a responsibility to our taxpayers, that money goes to the taxpayers first, not doing infrastructure for the new casino coming in, taking land for the new group. That money should go to the taxpayers, and a certain percentage should be left there. But, you know, I'm reading all these great things that, you know, there's 20 million here, 50 million for infrastructure, infrastructure. Let them pay for it. The money we get should be a bonus. Are we gonna be overpopulated? Do we need a school? So, I mean, I'd like to note that if they're gonna give us 25 or 26 million a year, when this place is up and running, that money is coming to the city. And that money can be used to reduce taxes and pay for the updates that we need, not what we need for the people to get to the casino. That's gonna be their world, and our world will be the schools and the infrastructure and the additional police and the additional firemen and the new teachers. There's gonna be expenses that we should take care of first for us, to make us a better city. Also, the money there should help reduce the commercial rate in the city. We flatlined. There's nothing coming here other than, the casino, which is a great thing. But we still need those buildings occupied. We still need to have money. We need to get this $44, the highest in the state, down to maybe $34, $30 in the next 2 or 3 years. So, I'm not saying anything, I think out of point. It's just that, I work for the city of Everett first, and I don't work for the casino. It's a great thing that we're getting here, but my, thing is to see Everett flourish and to take advantage of this newfound money which we're gonna have here. So, I mean, as a board here, I know right now it may be a little earlier, but you know, we can determine how much money that comes into that, what's going back to the taxpayers. No matter where that money is sent, there's gonna be an account, and before they can spend that, it has to come to us. So whether you come up with a 90%, 75%, 50%, we should know right away that we're going to knock off $10, $15 million a year on our tax thing, which I think is something we should think about. So at this, you know, time, you make your decision, you know, according to this letter, we don't know where it's going yet, but we should be working on an ordinance. So, you know, whenever if this thing passes, which, you know, keep our fingers crossed for November, that, you know, it does pass, and if there's a $10 or $15 million bump we get, let's give the people in Everett a little gift. Let's knock down their taxes for the year. You know, let's do some parks. We don't have to go borrow everything. We can do a little bit of infrastructure ourselves. And that's all this is saying. This isn't to be nasty. I want to make sure that everybody's aware that we control the money. It may go to a fund, but we control the money. And I think we should set the record straight, how much of it the people are going to get before it even starts. Infrastructure should be done by the people that are coming here. Improvements, Lower Broadway, should be done by the people that are coming here. After all, it's the casino zone, whatever it is, so that's their expense, not the city of Everett. Thank you.
I'd like to
Mr. Chairman, Michael, Mr. Vice Mayor,
Councilor Hanlon.
Mike, I've been doing some reading on this too, and what I'm kind of concerned about where we would get the authority to disperse that money.
Well, we don't disperse, we can just designate where that money's going to be. Any
well,
dime that comes out of there is
Where
going to be.
where do we get that authority to do that?
They gotta come up for a vote if you're gonna take money out of there. The money doesn't just go to the 4 or 5 people in a redevelopment authority. It has to be approved by us before it comes out of that fund. It's just not a.
Does it work the same as taxes? I mean, because we don't have anything to say about taxes. Go ahead, yeah. Oh,
Sure.
All right.
So we, excuse me?
Yes, yeah.
right ahead. I yield, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
Please state your name and title, please.
Richard Biscay, the auditor. All right. Thank you. Yeah, so definitely all excited about the Wynn Casino coming in, the revenue streams that come in. I did have a preliminary talk with the Department of Revenue to, I'd spoken to them previously about the agreement and what it means and how the money's to be accounted for. They basically said we're gonna wait for the vote to happen, and once the community gets awarded the license, they will come forward and have discussions on how this money is to be treated. But at this point, I don't have any particular mechanisms to say how this money's coming in, what types of fund it goes in. All I know is that right now, all the money's accounted for per the Mass General laws. And as I read it, most of this money comes in as general fund revenue, which is local receipts that go through the appropriation process. So when that money comes in and we present a budget, you guys, the council will still have the authority to vote. We propose and you dispose, as we say. There are certain aspects of certain types of money, the community enhancement fee, that's a new thing for both the Commonwealth and the city. So again, it's hard for me to come up here and discuss exactly how that money's gonna come in, what type of fund that goes in, how it gets dispersed. But with regard to payments in lieu of taxes and impact fees, they tend to look to me like general fund revenues that would come in. So when we do a budget, we have an estimated revenue stream, and let's just say it was $8 million of local receipts in one year. Next year it might be $28 million, and how that money is appropriated is all subject to the budget presentation and the adoption of the budget by the council is how I see it. But that's very preliminary at this point.
Councilor Hanlon, please.
Can I ask a question? Can I?
Yes.
For Mr. Biscay while you're here. Biscay, what is the revenue stream? Was it like 10 million, 50 million in the event this thing passed in November? Would be receiving some,
Well, there's, the three major points that I see is there's a community enhancement fee, which is essentially, per the community host agreement, says it's a $30 million stream of revenue that would come in over a 3-year phase. that's to be used for capital improvement projects identified by the city. Again, I don't have any direction from the Department of Revenue on when that money comes in. Does it get deposited to a special revenue account, a capital projects account? Is that general fund revenue? These are things that have to be developed at the state level at this point.
Right. Council,
I'm just reading from the agreement. It's $5 million within 30 days of the commencement of construction, then $12.5 million on the one-year anniversary, and then another $12.5 million on the second-year anniversary. So that's $30 million within 3 years. And the payment in lieu of taxes and the impact fees, as I read it, look to be general fund revenues. But again, I'm not too quick to go into details of that. It's $20 million and $5 million respectively, so that's a $25 million annual. So a $30 million one-time payment, and then $25 million a year with a 2.5% escalator. But the details of how that money is to be accounted for, the Department of Revenue oversees the accounting of the Commonwealth municipalities, and I'm waiting to hear from them to get a little more detail so I can then present it to the mayor, the administration, and the council.
Councilor Hanlon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Viscay, earlier this year, we had the mayor came before us, and I can look it up, but off the top of my head, I can't get it. He came in here, and we were talking about an amount of money, and that we were granting him to use it, we're granting him to have it. And then he mentioned to us, but he said, I can't spend a dime of that until I come back into here and the city council approves that. Now, is this, what we're talking about here, is this going to be the same kind of money, or is this different? And what was that we were talking about? Can you recall that?
I believe you may be talking about, we set up a special stabilization fund for capital improvement.
Okay, and
And
so,
when we put money in from free cash into that capital improvement fund. So that essentially allows me to keep money in an account that earns interest, and when we do the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 16, chances are some money will be suggested to be appropriated out of that fund to fund certain capital projects. So we created the funds, we put free cash in that fund, and then when we do the capital improvement plan, the different funding sources, maybe bonding, it may be
Okay.
appropriation, it may be from that fund. So that is a total separate item. Again, these,
but that's the question. That's the one that has to come before us to approve?
you
the-
guys
the
have to
spending of
approve
that?
every penny that's spent, pretty much.
Well, no, but we're talking about directing where this money is going to go. We're not directing that one. You guys are. You're going to say you're going to spend $20,000 to buy an automobile. You have to come to us for approval for
That's
that,
right.
right? Okay. But would this fit into the same category?
Again, counsel, what I'm trying to say is I can't tell you exactly how this money's gonna be treated
Okay.
until I get the direction from the
Okay,
Department
okay.
of Revenue.
All right. Okay. When could we find out that?
I've already put in a call to start the talks, but there's no meeting that's been set up. As a matter of fact, we haven't even met internally about this yet.
Okay,
So
would you-
This
would
is
you-
very new.
Would you communicate to us, without going through all the votes, that
I'm
when
sure-
this is
well,
going to
through the
happen?
mayor's office, I'm sure you guys will know as soon as we know how the mechanics of this money would be
Okay.
used within the budget.
Thank you. Will they be excused to customary? You
Maybe.
have a question?
I got a question. It's not a question, it's a comment. Just like to say, I agree with Councilor Marchese. The money that they generate is our money, the people's money. He's not gonna use that money like Mr. Marchese said, not to do their infrastructure. They make their own money, and the money that's guaranteed us, which is in writing, that's our money for the people, and I think it's a great idea for keeping the taxes low. Thank you.
That's a coach?
Dave just told me what I was about to say as well. Just so happened that I read through the host community agreement, again, to refresh myself, and if you read through it, you'll see that all the infrastructure required for the development of the Wynn Casino, all the way up Lower Broadway and Santilli Circle and such, they're paying for that all anyway, and it's all
Oh, yeah.
laid out in this agreement. So you may want to review the agreement as well to refamiliarize yourself with some of the stuff that's already approved.
We just wanna make sure we get our part. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman, thanks.
I'd like the motion to hold this over until the first meeting of this committee in December. Will be past the state vote by that point. Then Ms. Boucher will have an opportunity to sit with them to get details on the spending. We'll have more information, And this way here, we can keep this thing on the, going first.
Okay, until when?
First, for our first meeting, scheduled meeting in December.
Okay. Prop
For
motion
the-
be to refer
this
this back
committee.
to the board, back to the
No, no,
common
hold it
council
over in committee.
with the request to allow
minute.
this to stay in the committee until the middle of December. Otherwise, we have to refer it out. We
Yeah,
don't
no,
get-
we make a motion, hold it over, it's the same motion.
Can only hold it over so many days. It has to be referred out.
John, that's the way we've been doing it.
How long can we think,
the
keep
whole
something
time
in
we've been
committee?
here.
I wanna say 4 weeks, I gotta double check that.
Okay, all right.
See, first.
So the motion is simply to ask the board to allow us to carry it over until, what, the second meeting in December?
We only need, this committee will meet once in December.
Oh, okay, first meeting in December. Yeah, okay. Mr. Chairman,
Second?
make a motion to refer it back to the full board with a request that we allow this to stay in committee until the first meeting in December.
Is that a second? Okay, the motion is refer it back to the full board and hold this over to the next committee meeting on December 1st with more information. First meeting in December. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read number 7.
All right, item number 7, disorder by Council Michael K. Marchese as president. That the city operative agreement, which includes the average commercial rate of the 4 bordering communities, Medford, Malden, Somerville, and Chelsea, with a minimum of 3 years and a maximum of 3 years.
We'd like to
Invite the
Invite-
sponsor.
invite the sponsor, please.
I also would like to make a communication from,
State your name and title again,
Mike
please.
Marchese, Council Ward 3.
Thank you.
Also, from Mr. Rodriguez, Chief of Staff, says the only way to accomplish something of this nature, it will be through a home rule petition. Anything else would violate the Mass General laws. So, I mean, that's the answer we have there, but
I'm sorry.
we,
What law are we going to violate?
excuse me, that would, anything else would violate the Mass General law. I guess there's a tax incentive finance agreements administered through the state. It allows municipalities to provide flexible target incentives to job-creating developments. Rather than being based on tax rates, they give businesses tax relief based on value. Simply put, a business that will be receiving a tax incentive receives negotiated relief based on the value of the new construction that they are building. The business is required to pay the full tax rate on the base value of the property. And the exemption is only on the increased value added to the property as a result of the proposed development. Once the city negotiates a TIF agreement, it needs to be approved by the city council, approved by the state. You know, I'm just thinking, you know, like I said, we have a very high commercial rate. And hopefully, with the added money coming in, we should be able to knock it, hopefully come down a little bit. And I know we can't do this, but we can do something through a home rule petition. And take a little work on this board if you're interested in doing this. And, I think it's self-explanatory what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to jumpstart the city for 2 or 3 years until the money kicks in from the casino money, hopefully. And after that, hopefully the money from the lower Broadway power plant. I mean, this is a great location for business, and we should be, you know, very vibrant if we're competitive with the tax rate. And that's all I'm doing. I'm not sure how the home rule petition runs, because I know Councilor Napolitano did it when he had the charter, I believe. And, I mean, it's something to think of. I mean, it's something we did, and we had the 20% exemption for homeowners. And this is some kind of like a little, something to get the ball rolling in the city of Everett, in between what's going on.
We have a city solicitor?
Can
We
we
have a city
invite
solicitor before us? Or someone from the office?
the
You
city
can say, Mike.
solicitor, please? State your name and title, please. Thank you.
Just a quick question, or a request, actually. If we were going to go the route that Mike was talking about, home rule petition, there are lots of steps that you have to take, and I know that you understand what they are. Could you send us a document on step 1, step 2, step 3, that kind of thing?
Home rule petition
For the home,
process.
to do a
Yeah,
home rule
that's-
petition,
that's, yeah.
based on this?
I don't understand. It's based upon how, it would be the same for every process. It would be just a matter of, you know, what was inside the home.
Well, I always thought we had to go out and get signatures. That's what I thought, the last one that I did, no? So is it that the board can do it themselves?
The city council can petition the general court to adopt a piece of special legislation that applies directly to the city, pretty much. And it's just asking the general court in order to do that. And that's sent from here and then filed by either the state representative or the state senator. We just did that with the cemetery fund, and we're going through that
Okay,
process now.
thank you.
Council Sines, please.
So I just want to try to understand this, because it's kind of new to me in explaining, are we looking to other cities to give us TIF agreements because they're bordering us with businesses? Is that what this is about?
What it's all about is to be competitive with what's surrounding us. We're probably $15 to $16 more per 1,000 for taxes. And what this would stipulate, it would be the average. So instead of the difference, someone come to Everett and build at 44 and you go to Chelsea for 26, we would take the average of our surrounding communities. And we could see if we could, through the home rule petition, if we could offer that for like 2 or 3 years, instead of having people come here for nothing. And then 25, if we could just keep them on even par to what they'd be paying, and hopefully with the casino coming here, Lower Broadway power plant coming on, we get them here ahead of time. And then hopefully, everything would drop down eventually anyhow. Just to, you know, get the buildings, get everything rock and rolling in the city here, and see some commerce moving.
We already offer TIF agreements to certain businesses that are in here, correct?
Yes.
So what is anything different with what they have, what this is?
They wouldn't come in here zero taxes the first year. It's like, for instance, what we did with the knife company. They're here for zero, you know. We made more, let's put this, we made more money in taxes when they were empty. The building was empty than we're doing now when they're full. But that's, we got them here. But the idea is maybe we can get a competitive rate, so we get them at $26 to $28 per 1,000 and do it for 2 or 3 years.
I think it's important to clarify, just clarify the terms that everybody that we're using. What was given to L Knife was an STA, it was a special tax agreement. So it was something separate than a TIF, which is a tax incentive financing agreement. Again, Melissa has a lot of experience with this, so if you have specific questions with regards to these, I would certainly suggest inviting her up to discuss this further. A TIF is normally associated with the development. So it's project specific, it would be project specific. It wouldn't necessarily be that we would be able to offer a TIF to every single business in the city. If you're, what I think the and I certainly don't want to put words in the councilor's mouth. What it sounds like is that it's looking for a broad spectrum special tax agreement that would lower the taxes of every commercial business in the city. Which again it was very complicated, and I'd have to defer to the assessor and to the auditor in order to, for them to fully explain to the council how that would work mechanically, and if that's even possible legally. I don't believe it is.
Councilor Hanlon, please.
Counselor? Me?
Did you?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't understand, I understand what you said. I'm not sure I got what Michael said. Isn't Michael, aren't you talking about new businesses, enticing new business that come in and not everybody?
Enticing new business to relocate here and say, instead of going to Chelsea, Malden, so you got Chelsea at 20, whatever the
Okay.
average would be, with
I got
Chelsea,
you.
Malden, Medford, Somerville, surrounding our city. If
But
we
not to
could-
give it to all the businesses that are here
No,
now.
no, we would just be competitive, but we wouldn't do this forever. It would only be like
Gotcha.
2
I
years,
understand
3
that.
years, and that would be, then they would assume, you know, the natural thing. And hopefully in 2 or 3 years, with the casino and the added revenue coming into our taxes, we could compete with these other cities and get $25, $26, $27 for commercial and bring it down. This is an attractive site, Everett, for business, and it should be booming.
Okay.
That's what,
And Counselor, I'm sorry,
Just spelled different.
whatever, you know. Did you understand that now?
I
Did you-
do. I was reading the brief synopsis that was provided, and
Okay.
I apologize for
No, that's okay.
misunderstanding what the council.
Look what
was
I do.
providing.
I apologize for everything, you know, so it's okay. So, all right, but I'm no more questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Okay, move there
More
be excused
questions?
with the customary thanks. Oh,
Excuse with customary thanks. Thank you for appearing. We'd like, like,
I'd
you
like to
want-
ta-
would you
Mr.
like to
Chairman,
do?
I'd like to make a motion to table this. I can talk with our city clerk and to, you know, determine the first steps that we should take in making a home rule petition, because this is a great idea Mike has. I mean, I think it's a really a good idea, you know, to give those new companies coming in a little bit of an incentive to come in here and grow in Everett, you know, so if we could ask the board to refer it to our, refer it back to the common council, refer it back to the city council to refer it to the city clerk to start the organizing this home rule petition for this.
If I may, on that motion, to make sure that that's how we can use the TIF agreement. I understand what the council president's trying to do, but there are, certain guidelines that that TIF agreement has to follow. And I understand what he's saying, that he wants to, be competitive to bring on, instead of his own Chelsea or Mendon or Malden, he wants to come to Everett to use these zones. Maybe that is a tool that we could use to lower that rate. I just want to make sure that the solicitor says that if that's the tool that we're going to use, TIF agreement, to incite them that we can do that with that. That's all I'm asking for, especially, Ms. Murphy, with her expertise on TIF agreements. That's all.
Could you repeat the motion again, please? Okay, the motion is to refer this to the full board with the recommendation to refer it to the city clerk for his information, for his input, or for his procedures and of the home rule. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Yep, that's it. We got, all opposed? All in favor? All opposed? We have adjourned.